All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Global Reality. This is the Thursday, March 31st, 2016 edition of the broadcast. Glad you could be with us here for another edition of the show. We've got some various news items and whatnot to discuss with you here on the show, so strap in and get ready. We've got several interesting things to talk about. And just like we had in the last show, if you have stuff you want to email over and you have topics or something you want to hear me touch on, always open to that. You can email me, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's globalrealityshow@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to get into stuff you'd like me to get into if you're interested in certain topics. So I really appreciated the email we got the other day touching on a lot of this stuff, because especially when it's something like that, it's right in my wheelhouse. It's very easy to have a discussion about that. Anyway, we've got quite a few things to discuss with you here, so we'll get right into it here in just a minute. My website is theglobalreality.com. That's theglobalreality.com. You can also find that by just typing in Josh Reeves into Google, and my website's the first one that pops up there. And you can find all of our work there as well at the website. You can get subscriptions to our archives, to our high-quality members' archives, and stay up to date with all the shows as they come out. And you can also purchase downloads from our download shop. All my films are in there, going back to my first film from 2007, 9/11 New World Rising, The Secret Right, Volume 1, The Secret Right, Volume 2, The Lost Secrets of Ancient America, Volume 1 and Volume 2, as well as many, many audiobooks. A live presentation on the rock wall I did is in there. Tons of stuff in the download shop, and there's quite a bit of things there that aren't available anywhere else except in the download shop. They're not available on YouTube and whatnot, so definitely want to go and check those out. Stuff like Atlantis and the Giants audiobook, which is fantastic, and our History of Atlantis. Both of those are very rare books that we've read and not available anywhere else except in our download shop, so you definitely want to go there and check it regularly. We just put up a new set this week, 4-pack set of Manly P. Hall books, and that's definitely one you want to get if you're interested in the deeper information. This has been probably the most difficult month I've ever had in my 9 years of broadcasting here, almost 9 years now. It'll be 9 years in September. This has really been the most difficult month I've had yet, because I just dealing with health issues and literally taking every cent I could scrape, and having to sell belongings and stuff like that, on top of just, what I've been dealing with here that I've sort of touched on a little bit, not a lot, but it's been very difficult this month, and these people don't want this film out, and just like I talked about in the last two shows, I never dreamed this stuff would, the spellcasters would tie back into all the other stuff I've ever done, just like I didn't expect Lost Secrets to either. But that shows you right there that you're on the right track and on the right path to uncovering things when, researching completely unrelated topics brings back dots that connect to other things that seemingly on the surface didn't appear to even be connected. And I find that time and time again, every time I decide I'm going to work on a different project that in my mind is unrelated to the last one, sure enough, we start finding more and more connections back to the stuff we'd covered before. And it's just amazing to see that. But, I've been under a lot of, electronic harassment and psychic attacks and everything you can imagine. And it's not just affected me, it's affected other people around me, and it's affected, these bastards are even going after, they're making my animals and stuff sick. I mean, we had an animal pass away this week. Strangely, for no good reason. That I just know was connected to all this. So this has really been the most difficult month for me, because was unable to work for almost the entire month, unable to do any shows. I couldn't even talk for half of the month. And, having to go to the doctor and the dentist and all this, which it's not something I ever do. And, having to basically, it affects my productivity. I wanted to have the film done. And so that took me, 2 or 3 weeks off of that. So that put me behind, but I am getting close. I think we're looking at probably another week until release on this thing. Best case scenario. But again, that's all dependent on whether or not we're going to even be able to cover our operating costs this month. That's our big, hurdle right now that we got to overcome, but we need all of your help out there to be able to do that. So go to my website, theglobalreality.com. Right there on the right side, we have the monthly operating cost banner. That'll let you know how far away we are from our goal. Excuse me. And we need to reach 100% of that goal in the next 48 hours. So definitely go there and make your contribution. And if you don't want to use the banner thing because it's PayPal only, you can always go down to the donate button there. If you don't want to use a PayPal account or anything like that, the donate button, even though it's a PayPal donate button, you don't have to have a PayPal account to use that. You can use any credit card, debit card, or even a prepaid card that you buy and load up with money. You can use that there, and even though it will process it through PayPal, you don't have to have a PayPal account or anything else like that to do that. And so we need to reach 100% of our goal here, folks. And we've I earlier in the week, I tried to, every time I do this, I try to ease people into it, and nobody responds. And we're just past that point now of being able to ease people into it. We need everybody who can contribute anything to contribute now. And we're offering we've never offered this before, and we'll never offer it again. This is something we're only offering this month as an incentive for people to help us reach 100% of our operating cost goal, since we've had such a hell of a time. I'm lucky to even be alive and have survived this far. I was hoping to have my film done and out already this month, but being sidelined with health stuff is just, it's killed me on all fronts, and we haven't gotten very much in support-wise either, so it's been doubly difficult. But we were offering something we've never offered this month and we'll never offer again, and that is for everybody who contributes $100 in the next 48 hours is going to get a lifetime membership to our Global Reality Members Archives. Now, usually these sell for $1,000. We've sold a few of them in the past, and we've never offered these as an incentive towards contributions or anything else. So you will get a lifetime membership, meaning you will never have to worry about paying for monthly archive access or anything else. You'll be able to get the show indefinitely. And just to let you know, I'm never going to quit. I'll still be doing this show and doing this stuff when I'm 80. But that's just bottom line. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going anywhere. But at the same time, our whole survival is dependent upon you, the listener, because we don't. I personally don't believe in having sponsors and advertisers. If I wanted to do commercial radio, I could go and get a job doing commercial radio and be a shill, and shill for the left or shill for the right or somebody like that, and do commercial radio and talk about what they want me to talk about. I could do it. I've been on commercial radio before. This show was on commercial radio before. We ran Alex Jones off of his big FM, huge 300,000 watt flamethrower down in Central Texas back around 2009. He had to pay $30,000 out of his own pocket, folks, to get my show taken off and get his put back on. I mean, literally, the owner of the network said, Josh, I love you. We've loved having you here. I mean, they had me up there prime time in the middle of the day, like 11 to 2, Monday through Friday. And it's crazy. They have this station down there, and they've done this for like 50 years. So it's a tradition. They would carry like the first 2 hours of the show, and then there would be like an hour of the show they wouldn't carry, and then they bring back and play the last hour. And the reason that is because they have a polka show on this FM station down there. It's been a tradition for like 40, 50 years, and people just love to tune in for it. And the owner of the station got tired of Alex Jones's shit. And so for about, 8, 9 months, almost a year or so, they put me up there. And boy, I mean, that was some legendary stuff right there. I tell you what, that was some legendary stuff. I don't think anybody in the history of radio will ever allow anything like that to happen again. I mean, I was up there talking about the Anunnaki and talking about, Sumerian stuff and secret societies. We're talking about in the heart, middle of the afternoon, not midnight, 2 or 3 a.m., coast to coast style. We're talking about prime time, afternoon, middle of the day. And here's Josh Reeves up there on this big, huge FM, FCC licensed station talking about the Anunnaki and Sumerian texts and talking about the Council for National Policy and exposing Jones and his whole connections. I mean, he literally, the owner of the station came to me and said, I love you. I love your show. I love everything about you. He's like, but he's paying us $30,000 to take your show off and put ours back on. I don't think you can compete with that. I'm like, no, I can't compete with that. Well, I knew what he had to do, and it was a money thing. And he was trying to keep his station alive, and I didn't begrudge him anything for that. But it made for a hell of a story. But I just decided when I started my own network and started my own show and did it on my own, because I did it on other people's networks and other networks that I helped create and stuff prior to doing it on my own. And after, having my content dictated by advertisers and sponsors, and people tell me, you can't talk about that subject, you can't talk about this subject because the sponsors are going to get pissed. I said, look, I'm just going to create my own thing, and the basis for this is because at that point it had never been done. There weren't any radio stations, there weren't any broadcasters out there that were going completely ad free and sponsor free. We don't have sponsors here. We don't have commercials. I could very easily have gone the commercial route and here I get to talk for 5 or 10 minutes, and then you get 10 or 15 minutes of people trying to sell you shit. And I never wanted to do that. And so I told people from the very beginning, the idea was this was going to be dependent on everybody supporting us every month for a minimum amount just to cover the monthly operating costs that it costs to do this. But everybody that contributes $100 between now and midnight Saturday night will get lifetime archive access, one free download from the download shop, any one you choose, doesn't matter which one it is. And you'll also get your name in the special thanks credits of the new film, The Spellcasters. This is a one-time deal. We'll be offering this. We will not be offering this again. We usually sell a 1-year archive access. I think it's like $80. So for $20 more than what you would pay for a year, you're going to be getting a lifetime membership if you contribute $100 in the next 48 hours. Now, if you want to contribute more than $100, then you can get in the running for our grand prize that we're going to be giving away to the highest contributor. So whoever contributes the highest amount, $350 or more in the next 48 hours, will get our grand monthly prize that we're going to be giving away. That's just fantastic, which is going to include a bunch of really awesome stuff, including some actual pieces of the rock wall in there and some other very rare stuff. It's going to be worth in excess of $500, this prize pack. So if you contribute more than that, you'll be able to get in the running for that. And whoever contributes the most by midnight Saturday night will be the winner of the prize pack. But we can't wait any longer. We've gotten hardly any support in this month at all anyway, and I've had to sell off belongings, everything, just to pay for the cost of medical stuff to get me back up and running here. And it's just a crucial time. So please go to my website right now, folks, and contribute what you can. If you can't contribute the $100, just contribute what you can. Not contributing anything. We had one of our listeners leave a comment on our campaign page that said, I can't believe this is still at $3 from the other week I was on this site. It's like there's an anti-abundance field repelling money from you or something. To other listeners, don't not donate because no one else is donating. If everyone thinks that way, then it just stalls. And that person's exactly right. So thanks for that comment. But as of right now, we have raised 40% of our goal, and we need to raise the other 60% of that. Really, what it boils down to is if we have 6 people contribute $100 in the next 48 hours, we'll meet our goal. And I think with all the listeners that we have out there, that should be no problem. I mean, we've had 722 people view listen to the show that I did on the 22nd, and close to 500 people with the show I did the day before yesterday. And yet we've only had maybe one contribution since then. So that's where this inequality in listenership versus how much support we're getting comes in. And if we don't get this money in the next 48 hours, it's going to be over. I'm literally going to be homeless. I'm going to lose my studio. I'm going to lose all my stuff. The film's not going to come out. I mean, we're in a situation now because, and this only happened because of, me being sick and not getting any support and asking people to support our work and still not getting it. And yet people still wanting the product and still, wanting my information. That's the thing. People want the information, but they don't want to help me be able to produce it. But we've got to have your support here, folks. So please go to my website now and get your contributions in. Otherwise, we're going to be in really, really bad situation. And I have no way of getting me out of this situation now because of how much I had to do just to survive this month with paying the medical bills and going to the doctor and all that. I don't have any other options here to keep this going. I can't just go sell something and keep the and pay the operating costs and keep everything going here now. I mean, we're past that option. So 6 people, $100 each. Each person will get a lifetime membership to the archives, 1 free download from the shop, and your name of the film. You cannot beat that for just a mere $100. 6 people, $100. Hey, 12 people, $50. However you want to do it. But we've got to do that here now in the next 48 hours. So go now and make that happen. All right, let's get into our news now. This is from the Washington Post. Mass surveillance silences minority opinions, according to the study. A new study shows that knowledge of government surveillance causes people to self-censor the dissenting opinions online. The research offers a sobering look at the oft-touted democratizing effect of social media and internet access that bolsters minority opinion. The study, published in Journalism and Mass Communication Quarterly, studied the effects of subtle reminders of mass surveillance on its subjects. The majority of participants reacted by suppressing opinions that they perceived to be in the minority. The research illustrates the silencing effect of participants' dissenting opinions in the wake of widespread knowledge of government surveillance. The spiral of silence is a well-researched phenomenon in which people suppress unpopular opinions to fit in and avoid social isolation. It's been looked at in the context of social media and the echo chamber effect in which we tailor our opinions to fit the online activity of our Facebook and Twitter friends. But this study adds a new layer by explicitly examining how government surveillance affects self-censorship. Participants in the study were first surveyed about their political beliefs, personality traits, and online activity to create a psychological profile for each person. A random sample group was then subtly reminded of government surveillance, followed by everyone in the study being shown a neutral fictional headline stating that U.S. airstrikes had targeted the Islamic State in Iraq. Subjects were then asked a series of questions about how their attitudes towards the hypothetical news event, such as how they think most Americans would feel about it and whether they would publicly voice their opinions on the topic. The majority of those primed with surveillance information were less likely to speak about their more nonconformist ideas, including those assessed as less likely to self-censor based on their psychological profile. And yeah, this is a big problem. I mean, this is nothing new. I've seen this happen. And frankly, there's only one way around it. And the only way around it is to throw your middle finger up and say that you don't give a fuck. Fuck these people. Well, we're supposed to not express how we feel because we're worried about what somebody thinks about us, or we're worried that the evil government is tracking and tracing. Let me tell you something, folks. Nobody is sitting behind a computer watching what you're doing every single day. They aren't hiring. If they were, I mean, the economy wouldn't be, put to you like this. If there was a job field out there where they could pay people to sit behind computer terminals every day, monitoring what people are talking about on the internet, it would cause such a job boon in this country that you would have an economy fixed overnight. I'm not touting that or saying they should do that. But I'm saying if people realize just how many people it would take, how many humans sitting behind computers monitoring that would take, people just, they're so ill-informed about almost every aspect of life except what they know outside their little bubble, you know. There are not people sitting behind desks. They have computers and AI stuff that does this. If anything, they have keywords and whatnot that they look through, and if they get something they term actionable, then they get a printout and they investigate it further. But this whole thing of, oh, I'm not going to speak out on social media, or I'm not going to say anything. I mean, that's what it should be used for. And I've noticed that more and more people are you know, just scared to talk about. So we're scared to visit certain websites. Look, folks, come on. They're not going to come and black bag you because you looked at some website on conspiracies, or because you made a donation to some radio host or something. Okay? But again, that's where the reality versus the perception comes into play. And almost everything that these evil scumbags do is based on the manipulation of perception. I mean, have you ever, because I'm one of the few idiots that has, and I know a lot of people out there haven't, I've actually read the fucking War and Peace fucking thick Patriot Act. I've actually read that through that thing before. It's huge. It's amazing if you go and read the Patriot Act. If you go and read through that thing and you read in there what it says they have the ability to do, it will scare the bejesus out of you to the point where you'll be shaky and not even be able to function and do anything. Because if you believe what they tell you in that thing, they can do anything they want. But how much of that in that has actually been enforced and used against people? Not a lot of it. So that's the thing. They have put out this, all this crap like Edward Snowden. That guy was a total plant. They put out all these guys as CIA plants, and they create what's termed the chilling effect. They get everybody scared, and that way they can get people to self-censor themselves just from the notion that the government's tracking you and everything. Dude, folks, they've been tracking everything and recording phone calls and everything for decades, literal decades. Way longer than people have even been aware that it's been going on. The NSA has had secretive rooms in telecom hubs like AT&T and before that, I think it was Southwestern Bell and all that, for literally decades. Okay, I've known friends and family members who've worked in the telecom industry and who've worked for big major phone companies who have told me that there are rooms, and have been for decades, at least since the 70s, late 70s, probably since before that, where they have rooms inside all the big telecom hubs that you can't go into without a certain security clearance. And there are people that work for these companies for 20, 30, 40 years who can't go in these rooms. And the reason why is because these are the NSA tracking rooms. They've been there for years. They've been there for decades. Long before we heard about any of the tracking and tracing stuff, and long before the internet was even in use. They have been tracking us, and they have been using keyhole satellites against us. They had satellite technology. Hughes Satellite Corporation had technology in the late 60s the government was using where they could see the head of a dime clearly, a clear picture from space in a parking lot in the late 60s. This is nothing new. What this is designed, now that people have access to so much more information and so much more truth than they've ever had in this day and age, they had to start employing this chilling effect again to try and suppress people. And it does work on a lot of people, but you've got to be the one to say, fuck them. And express yourself, and don't let this phony chilling effect scare you. And that's what blows me away about this stuff, man. It's I can say this, in all my years of doing this, the one thing I've seen the most is that the biggest threat to the people is not the government, or not, whatever you want to call it, whatever name people use, the Illuminati, or, global government, or whatever else. It's not those things. It is the people itself. We do the most damage to ourselves because we allow ourselves to believe the hype and believe the propaganda and to believe the things we're told that instill this chilling effect. They don't even have to do anything to us. We censor ourselves and make ourselves paranoid by not having that balance between what you know to be true and what you're going to make active within your life. And life is too short to not speak your mind about the things that you feel passionately about. So don't let these fuckers keep you down. Boy, transhumanism, I tell you, it's something I've talked about for many years. We've got a great transhumanist collection in our download shop that's compiled from a whole bunch of different shows that I've done through the years on the subject. And it's a great resource if you're interested in that. And if you don't know what it is, that's the merging of man and machine. And one of the primary guys I've talked about many times in that is Ray Kurzweil. And I remember 5-6 years ago telling people, we're really going to start to see this become a reality close around 2015, 2016. People are going, no. It's not going to be here for way after that. And of course, now in the past year or so, more people are now starting to say what I was saying 5 or 6 years ago, that this is going to be here way sooner than anybody expected. When the rock band Queen asked us who wants to live forever back in 1986, we interpreted it as standard lyrical rhetoric. Great song, by the way. By now, 3 decades and what feels like light years in technological, medical, and scientific advances later, the answer to that age-old question may have changed. And according to Ray Kurzweil, the famous American inventor who has been described as the rightful heir to Thomas Edison, we're nearing immortality. As the man responsible for the first CCD flatbed scanner, the first omnifont optical character recognition, the first print-to-speech reading machine for the blind, and the first text-to-speech synthesizer, the first music synthesizer, and much more. Well, no, he didn't create the first music synthesizer. That's patently not true. That is a mistake. Ray Kurzweil did not invent the synthesizer. The synthesizer was invented by Bob Moog, who created the Moog synthesizer. And actually, much later in his career in the 1980s, after his own synthesizer company started, because when Bob Moog first started, he was creating like these theremin kits. You know what a theremin is? It's the little box with the antennas. You move your hand close to it, it makes all the spooky sounds. He eventually started building his own synthesizers and selling them these huge, massive monstrosity modular systems like you'd see Keith Emerson or the Beatles used one on Here Comes the Sun. And when these were first created, they were created to make sounds that didn't sound like other instruments. A Moog synthesizer, they were supposed to be electronic instruments that created new sounds. And in the 1980s, Ray Kurzweil took that the opposite direction. Instead of making synthesizers that created all new sounds, Ray Kurzweil invented some of the first sampling synthesizers where you would sample an actual sound, an actual instrument sound, like a piano or a grand piano or a violin or a flute, and then you would be able to play back this actual sampled recorded sound across the keyboard. And that's what Kurzweil pioneered. He pioneered and really some of those early Kurzweil synthesizers are still amazing. I mean, they were some of the very first ones that he made still sound better today. I mean, he's got the very first Kurzweil that came out 30 something years ago. Day 84, 1985. It's a big honking monstrosity. But you can go and hear this thing, and it still sounds better than some of the even the modern day stuff. I mean, that's how far ahead he was. But no, Kurzweil did not invent the first music synthesizer. He invented the first sampling synthesizer where you were playing back pre-recorded sounds. So, just goes to show you how much these people that write these articles really don't know what they're talking about all the time. Reflecting on the massive leaps and bounds technology has made in the last few years, Kurzweil says that immortality is no longer a pipe dream. While we spent the last several millennia rationalizing death, Kurzweil says we no longer have to resign ourselves to this supposedly inevitable fate. Referring to the exponential growth of information technology, the inventor also predicted the appearance of computers the size of blood cells in the not-so-distant future, which would be able to make their way through our bodies and connect to the cloud. All this, he says, is a 2030 scenario. So now he's saying, 15 years till this is going to be here. Probably going to be here less than that. It's all in a strange way part of the cycle, Kurzweil suggests. After all, the human race has progressed and we've continually extended our life expectancy. Yeah, this is what these guys want to have you believe. They want to have you believe that merging with machines and becoming half human, half computer is just part of the natural evolution of where we're going. No, it's about creating what the technological feudalist system, where humans become living gods and then reign over the other humans who don't want to become technologically bound cyborgs. And it's all about giving the elite a new way to become even more elite. In the past, they've become elite by just, having more money and more power than everybody else. Well, that's not enough anymore. Technology has created the ability for these people to have a much stronger grip. And that's what they want from this, no matter what. Is this new must-watch show about Scientology? Hulu has a new original drama coming out. I think it starts this week. I'll check it out and let you know. Called The Path. The Path follows the fictional Mayerist movement, a growing organization with a compound in upstate New York, many other hubs located around the country, and a founder who, unbeknownst to devoted followers, is currently dying at a shaman and ayahuasca retreat in Peru. That's hilarious. Creator Jessica Goldberg made up Mayerism and its core belief principles and practices for the show. She looked at many existing religious movements and other spiritual belief systems to develop Mayerism's tenets. Perhaps you'll be able to spot where some of Mayerist practices and beliefs come from as I describe them. Maybe you'll also start to have doubts about the movement's supposedly pure intentions. And it has Aaron Paul, of course, who was played Jesse Pinkman in Breaking Bad. This is Aaron Paul, who stars and produces The Path, has his own definition. I would define it as a movement that's very family-oriented. The people in the movement believe that once you eventually make it to the 13th rung, You'll become pure energy and light, and you'll live in a heavenly garden. That's the end game. No one knows exactly what happens when you reach the garden, though, because Dr. Meyer has yet to write about the 3 final rungs of the ladder. The Meyers continue to attend meetings, which are called gatherings and very much resemble religious services and led by a preacher, and strive to climb the ladder, with each level designated by terms such as 8R and 10R. Yeah, sounds like OT5 and OT6. The movement expands through what believers call outreach. This includes going into disaster-stricken areas even before FEMA, and bringing vulnerable, weak survivors to the compound. This all sounds familiar, right? A movement founded on the writings of a leader who's in the process of shuffling off this mortal coil, and now another charismatic person who's attained a high level in the movement is trying to step into his place. Constant talk about clarity, going clear, and personal alignment or enlightenment or truth. The Meyerists recruit people who look weak and lost in public places like the streets of New York City, and they even use machines placing electrodes on their heads, chests, and arms to monitor their internal energy. If your Scientology alarm bells are going off, you're not alone. Ever since Hulu announced production of The Path, Jessica Goldberg has been fielding questions about Meyerism's similarities to Scientology. She even wrote an op-ed in The Hollywood Reporter to address the issue. Indeed, Cal does seem very much like David Miscavige, who took over as the leader of the Church of Scientology after founder L. Ron Hubbard's death. And Goldberg does acknowledge in her story for The Hollywood Reporter some of the similarities between the two belief systems, but insists it isn't based entirely on Scientology. Yeah, they always do that. That's how they keep the dogs off of them. I, however, am exposing Scientology in my new film, The Spellcasters, so y'all can eat it. Let's see what else we got here. Pentagon refuses to rule out Robo soldiers that can kill with no human input, but admits enemies are likely to use them first. Oh, yeah, that whole thing. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that sounds a bit like we got to fight them over there so we don't have to fight them over here. Now they're just repackaging that old chestnut. Robotic systems and unmanned vehicles are playing an ever-growing role in the U.S. military, but don't expect to see Terminator-style droids striding across the battlefield just yet. A top Pentagon official on Wednesday gave a tantalizing peek into several projects that not long ago were the stuff of science fiction, including missile-dodging satellites, self-flying F-16 fighters, and robot naval fleets. Though the Pentagon is not planning to build the devices that can kill without human input. Okay, see, that's the operative term right there. It says they're not planning to build them. Well, anytime the government tells you anything, you just infer the opposite of that, and that's where the truth is. So that means they are building these. Well, our enemies will use these against us first, so we have to build these. We have to build robot soldiers and things that can kill with impunity without any human input, because, if we don't do it, then the bad guys are going to do it first, and they're going to use it against us. Right, that's all. It's always there. Same with the A-bomb. Well, we have to build the atomic bomb, because if we don't build it and drop it on somebody else will drop it on us first. Derpy derp. Same old shit from these people, just different day. So there's been a lot of news about this supposedly Planet 9. And I don't believe from my research that this Planet 9 is the same thing as Nibiru or Planet X or anything else. That's not my opinion, but it's been in the media, and they are now trying to associate this Planet 9 with Planet X and Nibiru and cataclysms. It's just, again, it's more unfounded fear-mongering, and it gets all the people that believe all of the bullshit about, Nibiru coming and killing us all. It just gives them more fuel for their fire. So that's the only reason I cover it here. Earlier this year, scientists at Caltech offered the most convincing evidence yet of a ninth planet, Planet X. Now, a retired astrophysicist suggests that the hidden planet is responsible for Earth's periodic mass extinctions like the disappearance of the dinosaurs. See, again, it's always their sources, their dubious sources, a retired astrophysicist. Well, who gives a fuck? Would you give any credence to a former McDonald's fry cook says Planet X is going to destroy us next week? So what? Why does his former job give him any sort of credence in this situation? The fact of the matter is, there were not one but two objects. You had one also known as Nemesis, or I forget what the names of it. No, I've talked about it before. It wasn't Nemesis, but the other one was Vulcan. That was it. And has a orbit which keeps it obscured from earthly view and the rest of this stuff. But they have, for so many years, trying to fearmonger this other planet or Planet X coming in and destroying us all. And it's nothing based on but them trying to muddy the waters. And, again, getting people to operate from a fear standpoint. And notice how we've only been hearing about this a short time now with these supposedly, there's new evidence of Planet 9. And already, instead of it being about the discovery, it's already about, does it cause mass extinctions and kills us all? They're already trying to, because they didn't get this achieved with 2012 and their fear-mongering of that stuff. And anytime they're trying to cover up something like, whether it be extraterrestrials or UFOs or whatever it may be, ancient societies, stuff like I've covered in my Lost Secrets films, the response is always a fear-mongering response, something like, it's going to kill us all, or, as soon as we started talking about extraterrestrials and UFOs, then all of a sudden they shifted the public conversation over to the threat of aliens and aliens invasions and aliens coming and killing us all. You notice that? Same thing here. We discover a new planet. What do? The first thing they do, instead of talking about the discovery, is they start talking about the fear-mongering of whether or not it could wipe us all out and kill us. This is a pattern you have to be aware of. They always do these kind of things when they are trying to shift our perception and shift our consciousness over from what we should be looking at, which is usually what they don't want us to see. And instead of focusing on the things we should be paying attention to, they automatically get us shifted over to this fear response, and then any sort of rationality or critical thinking about the subject goes out the window in favor of the fight or flight response of fear. And again, they're doing the same. They did the same thing with UFOs and aliens in the past. They're doing the same thing now with this supposed Planet 9. So don't fall for it. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this show. We're going to wrap it up there. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, as I talked about at the beginning of the show, go to my website, theglobalreality.com, and please help us reach our goal. All right, we'll see you soon. Take care.